right. 2025. Welcome to Off Topic with Tim and Matt, our little sports talk show where we always go off topic. All right, so
Happy New Year, Tim.
Happy New Year. You were in Disneyland.
I was.
Nice.
What an adventure that was.
I'm sure it was.
Oh my goodness. I walked and walked for days. It was so good. The rides were fun. The weather was great.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, it was a really good trip. And you got away to Seattle?
I got away to Seattle. We went to a lovely hotel called Level, and we got bumped to the penthouse. So for 2 days, my wife and two kids and I shared a 3,000 square foot, 3-bedroom apartment with our own wraparound balcony, and it was really nice. I did not have any issues with it at all. I could live like that all the time if I actually had to. Okay, let's get going here. Pro football. Big news around this part of the world. BC Lions have a new coaching staff. You take it away.
Yeah, BC Lions brought in Buck Pierce.
Pierce.
He was drafted by the Lions, started his career with the Lions, did very well for himself in the CFL, became a coach, and I think he was out in Winnipeg. And under his guidance, Zach Collaros won CFL Most Outstanding Player in 2021. Brady Olivieri took home Most Outstanding in 23 and 24. So I'm guessing that he's a decent coach.
He was a head coach or was the assistant coach?
I think he was an assistant coach back then, yeah.
Cool.
So he was, 10 seasons with first running back coach, quarterbacks coach, and offensive coordinator.
Okay.
Yeah, he was offensive coordinator.
Cool.
So yeah, he's couple Grey Cup victories in there, 19 and 21,
Nice.
And 5 consecutive Western Division championships. So the guy knows what he's doing on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Right. A smart coach like that is going to bring in a good defensive defensive coordinator. I like Buck Pierce. I like this hire. Last year, the Lions definitely didn't live up to expectations.
Nope.
Some injuries at quarterback kind of set him back. They brought Nathan Rourke back from the NFL. He hadn't played in a game in 3 years, and they threw him to the Wolves. I watched that game, and I felt so bad for Nathan. But he started to pull it out next year. I think they've got a really good offense.
Yep. Stay healthy.
Stay healthy. You never know. I think the big disappointment last year was that they were expected to contend, and the Grey Cup was in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it would have been nice if they had made it there.
Yeah.
So they didn't. That's the way it goes. I guess we'll wait and see.
It's always a wait and see.
Yeah.
And, the nice thing about a situation like this, they could probably turn it around in a season.
Yes.
Like, there's not a rebuild in place.
No.
It's not like you have to, let's dump some veterans. Let's start drafting. Let's start, you've got your quarterback.
Yeah.
You know you can win. You've got a coach that has won. We'll do it again. Winnipeg went to the Grey Cup last year, so.
Yep.
So.
Well, and the one thing, and I don't watch a lot of CFL.
I watched the Grey Cup.
Yeah,
Terrible.
and if it's on, and I'm at home and I'm doing in the garage, I'll throw it on in the background and whatnot. But the one thing that I noticed is that there was no intensity with the Lions. They seemed very flat a lot of the games.
Yeah.
And I think if you bring in that intensity, and you bring the intensity through those players, you're going to see it on the field.
Yeah.
And you just did not see it.
Well, there's the coaching mantra, the cliche, the winning is fun. And a lot of really successful coaches will throw that out the window. It's like, no. Yeah. Wanting to win is fun.
Yes.
You have to want to win. And you have to, I can't say, I really want to win today. It's Super Bowl LI, right? Tom Brady's down 25 points, and it's like, I'm winning this game. Because I want to win this game. Yeah. And he gets everybody around him, and you want to win. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, wanting to win is key, and this guy wants to win. I'm sure everybody else does.
Yeah.
Get him on the same page, and things will be a lot better.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So that's CFL. NFL finals weekend's coming up.
It's we're here today. We got 2 games today.
Who's playing? Who's playing, man, Macri?
Big games today. Today we've got the Ravens versus the Browns, and so right now the standings are very, very up in the air. Yeah. You got the Ravens and the Browns, and you got the Bengals and the Steelers. Now the Ravens and the Steelers are fighting for the number 3 spot.
Yes.
Right? If Ravens win, they got number 3. If they lose and Pittsburgh wins, Pittsburgh's number 3, Ravens drop to 5.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the
math.
Steelers are paying the Bengals. In order to make the playoffs, the Bengals have to beat the Steelers. Right? And if you go, there's so many layers to this AFC battle going on this weekend.
Now, I got to ask you a question, because everyone in NFL that I've watched is saying the same thing. the only people that want the Bengals to make it to the playoffs are the Bengals themselves because they've got this crazy offense. Their defense is terrible. Horrible, but their offense is ridiculous.
Yes.
So they could cause a lot of problems for a lot of teams in the playoffs.
100%.
Now, last year we picked our dark horses. I thought Philadelphia was going to go all the way for my first choice, and then I thought I picked C.J. Stroud and the Texans as the dark horse.
Right.
This year, I'm putting it on Baltimore. Like Baltimore with Lamar Jackson and who's their runner?
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
They're just scary at times.
Well, and then you look at their defense.
Yeah.
Right. Their defense is just so fast and they're so aggressive.
Yeah.
That they I don't really consider them a dark horse in the sense that they can win this.
Yeah.
They can win the whole thing. The other end of it is they can completely fall apart in any game.
That's
given
their problem,
Sunday,
right?
Yeah, they can
If
completely
it clicks,
fall apart.
they're
Yeah,
dangerous,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, Pittsburgh has played some really good games and they've lost.
Well,
They haven't played a lot of bad games, and that they're not really a threat. I don't think so. My opinion.
Another game or team where if they click, they're hot. They're good, right? Their defense is solid. Their offense is there.
Brilliant coaching.
Brilliant coaching.
Yeah.
But if Russell Wilson drops the ball, the whole offense falls apart.
Yeah.
Right? If Russell Wilson cooks, then he can't be stopped. So it's another one of those things. The one that everybody's talking about right now, and I know you're going to scream bias here, but it's the Chargers.
They're doing a lot better. He rebuilt them.
He did, but he didn't do a lot. There was 4 draft picks this year that were just phenomenal. The right tackle that they got, Joe Alt.
Yeah.
Lad McConkey, the receiver that they traded up for in the second round. And then 2 defensive backs they picked in late rounds that are going to the Pro Bowls as rookies, right? So these 2 defensive backs have shored up a weak spot, which was their passing defense.
Right.
And they've given up the least points of any team in the NFL.
See, the Chargers are always on the cusp.
Yes.
But they didn't have a very good coach.
Yep.
They made bad draft choices.
Bad in-game decisions, time management,
everything. So now they got a proper coach. The big problem was their coach. And we got a guy coming from college who's coached college for like 9 years.
Yeah.
Well, who's better to draft
Yeah.
than someone who's been watching these guys forever and understands a dark horse, right?
And they brought in a running back in J.K. Dobbins, who is such a good, dynamic player with the ball in his hands but he's been injured so much.
Yeah.
And this year he's able to stay healthy, got hurt a little bit, so they sat him.
Yeah.
And they were able to continue to stay in the playoff race and get a playoff spot. Now, they're playing the Raiders tomorrow. If the Steelers lose to the Bengals, the Chargers can actually move up to the 5 spot by beating the Raiders tomorrow.
Which they should.
And then they'll go face Houston, who's having a really rough year and only got in because they're in the worst division,
right?
And nobody else in the division wanted to, right?
Yeah.
So, but the funny part is the Kansas City Chiefs play the Denver Broncos. Now, right now, the Denver's holding up. I don't know if we can pull up my screen here where I've got the standings, but the Denver Broncos are holding the number 7 spot, right?
And they're playing a lot better than a lot of people thought they would.
Bo Nix is unbelievable.
Yeah, he was the steal of the draft. That guy.
So they're playing the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Right. So if they win, if the Broncos beat the Chiefs, who are going to rest starters, Mahomes not playing, Carson Wentz is the starting QB.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to rest some starters. So if Denver wins, they're in.
Yeah.
If Denver loses, and Miami wins, Miami's in. Right. Miami. Yeah. If Denver loses and Miami loses and Cincinnati beats Pittsburgh, Cincinnati's in. Right. So there's all these moving parts in the AFC that are going on that it's going to be an exciting weekend, but we'll know by tonight who's there.
Right.
Right. Because you've got that Baltimore game this morning or at 1, and then at 5 you got the Pittsburgh game. Pittsburgh-Cincinnati, right? So if Baltimore wins, they're going to go into the number 3 spot, no problem. Pittsburgh then has to win to keep the number 5 spot, and Cincinnati's got to beat them to even have a chance if the other teams lose, right? So there's so much going on, and the best part about it is a lot of all these blocks to fall depends on what Carson Wentz does. Carson Wentz. We haven't heard his name since when he got hurt in the playoffs, and Nick Foles won the Super Bowl.
Oh, right.
You know, like this is just unbelievable. That this, it all is going to be on his shoulders.
Okay, so that aside,
all right,
I'm going to ask you two things.
Okay.
Do you think Buffalo can beat Kansas City and make it to the Super Bowl this year?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
They beat them. They're the only team to beat them so far this year. The Buffalo does have the ability to beat KC. Now, let me rephrase that in saying I think any of the teams that are in the playoffs have the ability to beat KC.
Yeah, any team can win any given Sunday. That's fine.
Granted. But here's the thing: is KC is only won by a score at the very end of each game.
Right.
Because they're not playing as well. They're not the KC powerhouse that they've been, but they find ways to win.
Right.
You've got Andy Reid, who is just a Rain Man of coaches.
Right.
Right. You've got Patrick Mahomes, who's going to make things happen. You've got Travis Kelce, who's going to get out, is the leader. Yeah. Like he drives that team so well. And then you've got these young receivers, but then you've got their running back Pacheco's back because he was hurt. They brought back Kareem Hunt, who has just had a resurgence here in KC. So they're not a horrible team, but they're still a beatable team. Yeah. And their defense is kind of suspect as well.
They're getting beat up a lot. I mean, Buffalo ran into this problem on their fourth Super Bowl. By that time, they'd played close to 100 games. Mm-hmm. And it's a punishing sport, and it just wears you down. Yeah. So if they don't lose this year, chances are they're going to lose next year. And what they're winning on right now is just plain old experience. Yeah. They have the wisdom to win that other teams don't because they've done it so many times. It's not that they're a better team in terms of personnel. It's that they as a team on the fly, they can figure out how to win.
In order to beat KC, you have to play mistake-free football.
Yeah. And
because
get that last possession with a minute left of the clock and just not let them score.
Whatever mistakes you make, they're going to capitalize on. Right. So
my next question.
Yes.
Can the Detroit Lions do it?
That's where we're going next. We were just talking about the AFC madness today. No, we're going to the NFC next, okay? Because here there's two things happening right now in the NFC, and it's not as convoluted or wild. Detroit and Minnesota are going to play Sunday night. It's going to be the last game of the season. If Detroit wins, they win the division, they win the NFC, they get the bye. Right? If Minnesota wins, they win the division, they win the NFC, they get the bye. So this is the last game of the season. This is all going to hinge in the NFC, right? And I think Detroit has what it takes to win and then win through the NFC to make it into the Super Bowl. Right.
Philadelphia is sitting there waiting in the wings, and they'll do it.
But Hurts is hurt.
Hurts is hurt.
And I mean, so I don't even know if he's back. They're probably going to rest him this week. They can't win the division, right? So they're probably going to rest him this week, and then he's going to have to come play next week. And is he going to be ready? Right? That may hurt him right there. The Rams knocked out Seattle, and they won a poor division, but so they got the number 3 spot. The number 4 spot is up for grabs.
Here we go.
Right? You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 9-7, and the Atlanta Falcons at 8-8. Right? And the Atlanta Falcons sat Kirk Cousins and brought Michael Penix in, who turned around and won the game and kept them in the playoff contention because if the Buccaneers lose sorry to tell you guys, but the Buccaneers are playing the New Orleans Saints, who aren't very good. Right? If they lose to the Saints, Atlanta needs to beat Carolina,
who's not very good.
And they get that. They move into the number 4 spot and get a home game. And these teams are going to be 9-8.
Yeah.
Right. But because Atlanta beat Tampa Bay, they'll move ahead of them. Right. So so these 9-8 teams are going to be getting a home game over the other ones, which are Washington 11-5.
Right.
Minnesota or Detroit are going to be that team will be 14-3, whichever one ends up in 5. And then Green Bay, who's 11, will be 12-5 or 11-6, whatever, right? But these 9-8 teams are going to be in there playing, right?
So, out of those 9-8 teams, what dark horse do you think could really mess things up?
I think Tampa Bay has the ability to be very dynamic out there and cause some damage.
And
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield has a chip on his shoulder. He
The-
plays with a chip on his shoulder. And if anybody wants to just silence the detractors in this world, it'd be Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, he's fun to watch, man.
Such swagger on that guy.
Yeah.
I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan.
Yeah.
I love the fact that
I love watching him. He's a blast to watch.
he was in Cleveland, and they turfed him out the door, and they to Carolina with Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Right, and neither of them could do good in Carolina, and Carolina couldn't do any good there.
He was on the practice squad in Carolina.
Yeah. He goes to the Rams on Wednesday, has to play Thursday night.
Wins the
and
game.
has like the game of his career and wins the game. Baker Mayfield is a stud.
Yeah,
There's
he
no
is.
other way about it. And you got Mike Evans, you got Rashid White and Bucky Irving, who's just a phenomenal rookie running back. Bucky Irving, I love this kid. Right, their defense has always been good. You know, it's one of those teams that can come in there at the last minute and cause a lot of damage. Now, on the flip side of that, on the Atlanta Falcons, you've got studs from top to bottom, and if Penix is going to be firing the way that we think that he can,
Yeah.
they could be a dark horse in there that could cause some damage in the
And he's
NFC.
got that ACL problem, though, so one bad tackle, he's gone.
But then you got Kirk Cousins waiting in the sidelines.
There
so
you go.
You know, he could go throw for 500 yards a game, right? Or 5 interceptions. You never know.
You never know.
But my prediction out of the NFC is Detroit.
Yeah.
I've been calling it. They've been suffering injuries, and they just keep getting past them and past them. They've only lost 2 games this year.
They're amazing.
They're really solid.
Here's the
built
thing
team.
about Detroit. You live and die by the sword.
Yes.
And their sword is going for it on 4th down.
Yep.
So that can win it for them, or that could blow it for them. And that's
know
it's like it reminds me of the Buffalo Bills and the no huddle offense. It got them there, and then the other teams, or I think it was Dallas, just sat there and built their defense, retooled their defense against the no huddle offense. You can't really do that on 4th down because you just don't know the scenario coming in every single 4th down.
Yeah.
But if you can stop them on 4th down, that's their hand grenade, man. That's the pin coming out of the grenade where they can blow stuff up, and it can go off in your hand or it can hurt the other team 50 miles down. So,
but I'm gonna put my rooting, my cheering, my fandom on the Vikings.
Really?
And number 1, Sam Darnold.
yeah, he's
so
crazy.
here's
and
a
then
guy.
JJ McCarthy's on the sideline holding a clipboard and a crutch. It's like, it just makes no sense.
But here's the thing: Sam Darnold comes into the NFL, a highly touted quarterback,
Yeah.
and gets drafted by the Jets first, second, third, wherever he got drafted, right?
Yeah.
And the Jets just destroyed his confidence. They made it out to be he was the problem. They ship him out of town. He goes to Carolina. Carolina's like, man, I don't know if you're good enough to start for us. Go sit on the bench. You know, you're going to go around the B squad. And then he goes over to San Francisco, and Jimmy G's going to be the guy.
Yeah.
He gets hurt. They had that other.
Trey Lance or whatever.
Trey Lance,
Yeah.
he gets hurt. They bring in Darnold, and instead of Darnold, like, you know, we're going to go with Mr. Irrelevant over you, Brock Purdy.
Who I
right?
love Brock Purdy.
And so do I, right? So do I. And so they go with, you know, but they kind of look over Darnold, and they're like, yeah, step aside. We're going to go with him, right? Mr. Irrelevant. You were a first-round pick, top 5 pick, but we're going to go with Mr. Irrelevant, right? So he goes to Minnesota, and he signs the 1-year deal to sit behind this rookie, thinking that he may get an opportunity to play if the rookie struggles.
Right.
Right? The rookie breaks his leg, right? So he gets to start, and he's just been killing it. And this is the thing is, it's not, people want to crap on players and say, oh, he's horrible. No, he's there because he's good.
Yeah.
He has skills and abilities that put him there. The situation that he was in was not the right situation. And they passed him over because of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Terrible organization. I mean, the Jets are horrible. They're just terrible.
Kevin McConnell? No, is McConnell that's in Minnesota, the coach?
No idea.
Okay. But I think it's Connell. But anyways, okay, the head coach there said to him, look, we don't have an option, so we're putting the ball in your hands.
Yeah.
Right? Show me what you can do. And he went out week 1 and he did. He threw for 400 yards and
They
4
always had
touchdowns.
good defense. You've always said you always like their defense.
Always like their defense.
Yeah.
But he went out there and he played well. Aaron Jones came from Green Bay. It's run well. You got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, who are phenomenal receivers. Like Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the NFL, right? And then you got TJ Hawkinson, who's a great tight end. You got a good O-line that gives him time to throw the ball. You put him in the right situation, and he has flourished.
All right.
So that's my dark horse coming out of the NFC. AFC is the Chargers. Sorry, guys. Got to go with my home team.
What about the Washington Commanders?
Now, the Commanders,
It's another hour.
I could go on for the Command. The Commanders nailed it this year.
Yeah.
They came out of the basement just shooting straight up for the stars.
Jaden Daniels, man.
And I think they're going to be but it wasn't just Jaden Daniels.
It's
It
their
was
O-line. He built a good O-line.
the O-line's really good. You got Jaden Daniels, you got Scary Terry McLaurin, and they brought in Austin Eckler to complement Brian Robinson Jr. that they already had there, which they've complemented each other very nicely. Their whole team, they brought in Zach Ertz as a tight end, who has just been this release valve for Jaden Daniels. Like they did so much on the offensive side of the ball because they were so strong on the defensive side already that they could really cause some damage in there too.
And
But
then Green Bay has a chance.
nah, Green Bay, I'm not as sold on Green Bay. Green Bay, if you look at the teams that Green Bay's beaten this year,
Right.
have all been sub
Lower tier,
500.
yeah.
So, and they've lost to anybody above 500.
Okay.
I read an article on this the other day, and as much as I like Green Bay and I think they're a young up and coming team,
Right.
not there yet.
Okay, fair enough.
So I think they're gone first round. Seattle's out.
Yeah.
The Rams, the Rams are interesting as well. Another team that can cause a lot of damage because they have two phenomenal receivers, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
Right.
Cooper Kupp.
Both of them went out week one.
Yeah.
And the first 5-6 games of the season, they weren't there. So the Rams only won 1 or 2 games. They come back, and now they're 10-6. They got 10-6. Yeah, 10-6. They got Kyron Williams, who's a great running back. Tyler Higbee, their tight end, has come back now. He was on the pup list all season long.
Okay.
He's only been back a couple weeks. He's a phenomenal. So no one's seen this Rams team.
Yeah.
That came out last week, and won in a really good game, And now they're going to come back this week, and they're in the number 3 spot right away. So they got a home game. So this week here they can make sure that they can kind of fine tune some stuff, and when they go into a game next week, they're hosting. So
I like them better when they're in St. Louis. I'm just kidding. Okay, well, that's going to wrap up for today. This is our first segment. Don't forget, we have a new date. Rumble in the Rockies, of course, is the wonderful football tournament. How do you describe it again? Training camp, skills camp,
exhibition,
showcase
the money.
They have a new date. So the February 27th, March 2nd there is not correct. March 20th to the 23rd over
spring break.
Spring break is the new date. So Google it, get the proper date, register your kid. It's a fantastic indoor
Well,
tournament.
you got to register your team. So this is organizational wide. You got to register your team. It's I think they go from U11 to U18.
Yeah,
there's lots of levels of play, and we saw a bunch of it last year. It's a phenomenal facility in Red Deer, indoors, a couple of fields. They got a couple of games going on.
Great.
Yeah, it'd be exciting.
And a lot of fun. A great way to spend March break. If you don't order it
exactly.
afterwards.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much for tuning in to Off Topic, where we always go
Off topic.